Come and get started on a new mission, a new direction, a new intention. Welcome to 5.8G Alive at Connections 50 Plus. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite.
And I am Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, catering to all your prospects in the third act of life.
Economic well-being, social gratification, personal fulfillment.
Join us on Wednesday at 6 p.m. on Connections 50 Plus Facebook page, YouTube channel,
and on Gael the Caribbean. Good evening and welcome to 5.8G Alive, brought to you by Connections 50 Plus. I am Terry-Ann Joseph Brathwaite, one of the co-creators of Connections 50 Plus, which brings you 5.8G Alive. And with me, as usual, my friend.
Hi, good evening, everyone. And I'm Jennifer Gibbons Joseph, the other co-creator of Connections 50 Plus. Welcome.
Great. Jennifer, last week we started an interesting discussion about how we on the third act stage, while we enjoy our freedom from the second act, need to look forward and make sure that we are in tune and in line preparing. And we, in our old talk, talked about the things that were of concern to us and so on. But before we get to our in tune session to talk more about it, what are some of the feedback and stuff that you would have gotten from people based on that discussion last week?
The feedback was good. I was told that definitely the topic is one of interest to many people most people, I would say, within our cohort. I got about 3 calls on it, mentioning, one referred to the children, the expectations from our children, and that was a concern they had. Then the concern about when we chatted about having that support, you mentioned about there's no Terry-Ann again. The people are concerned. I got, mention that and say, that's a real concern. It's something that, they don't even want to think about. So, and all the feedback was one of concern. That is a topic that they're happy that we brought up, because it's not normally a topic they discuss among their friends or family, but it's something in the back of their mind that realizing, hey, I'm getting older, I'm aging, and I should be aware of these things. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we have that, and one of the things that and I had a good friend. Hi, Jackie, how are you? One of our Gael faithfuls. Really, a lot of us know that this is coming, and a lot of us feel it. And some feedback even said, you should not talk about this. Some people were like, stop talking about it. And we have to really give ourselves pause to say, why? I think so many of us live in fear of something that is certain, which is our death. And so few of us take that fear and turn it into something that we can manage. All right, so what is driving the fear? What is it that I fear? Is it something that I can manage? Is it something that I can control? If it's not, let it go. If you're ill, you have limitations, let it go. But very often there's so many elements that we can control and we can manage, but fear stops us. And Jennifer, we did something that we think is interesting to be able to manage that. we had a conversation with one of our favorites. So we can go into In Tune to talk about that conversation. Shall we?
Sure. Yeah.
Jennifer, who did we talk to and what did we talk about?
Well, we spoke to Dr. Allison Gibbons, who is a family psychologist and gerontologist, and really someone with lots and lots of experience. And the discussion covered so many aspects of aging, especially, where we focused on the 80s. And a lot of the aspects that was covered, I believe, really give us a lot of guidelines that we can share with you, our audience, to help you prepare for that, as you say, fourth stage for the 80s. Yeah?
Yeah. I really appreciated the discussion and two overarching principles or guiding principles that she said, which I think many of us fall into the trap of. And that is not differentiating for later in life issues that are prevalent, which means, yes, it is widespread, most people get it, versus things that are peculiar to certain people. For many of us,
Yeah.
the fear of what happens to us in our 80s, our 90s, and going on is really founded in something that happened to one person that we know, but is not typical of everyone in the 80s and 90s. And very often, because we don't differentiate and we don't, when we saying, well, this happened to Jane or this happened to John, and we begin to believe that so it will happen to me. And you then turn your life into a little fear ground. And you lose all the joy. And she said, as she practices and as she talks to people, she realizes that this is a serious mistake a lot of us make. And the second thing is where she looked, and it's similar, is what is predictable versus what is random. She says there are so many issues about how we manage our lives that it's predictable when you're older, you can't continue as you used to. And I think we touched on many of those last week. And because we fail to look forward and adjust and prepare, we get into trouble. And then we have to know that random things happen. Things fall down, but random things are like the peculiar things. They don't dictate that this is how you live. And I thought those two perspectives really gave me, yeah, you really have to live your life not watching what you're generalizing, and don't think that every individual case is the prevalent or will happen to you.
Yeah. My takeaway too is that we have to understand who we are. And that is from what you're saying there, is that we can't compare ourselves with others. We knowing who you are, knowing your situation, knowing your background, because we have to understand that a lot of our past experiences inform what we do today, And if we understand that, we have to recognize also that a shift may be required. We have to change our mindset in order to be able to navigate the next stage.
Yeah.
Right? Changing mindset means being honest, with your life, being honest with your expectations. And what was covered there is that, and you mentioned that where we generalize in situations that the expectation, and I want to touch here, which is something very close to me in terms of my feelings on that, is that our expectations of family support, and when I say family support, especially children. And we have to understand that how we would like to be treated, we have to know how our children, who we have that expectations, that the expectation to do certain things for us, we have to really examine ourselves and ask the question, how did we bring them up? Did we bring them up privileged? Did we bring them up in the way that they understand caring for others? Are they capable of doing certain things? So we have to really check ourselves before we put that, I don't want to use the burden, but before we make them feel guilty as we go along about why they're not doing certain things for us. That struck me. That is something I really, thought about and say, ask myself, did I bring up my children in this way? Am I being unreasonable and expect them to do things? And for me, I would want to put things in place where I am not dependent on them. So that is, and having the conversation, as she mentioned, we should also be careful when we have that. We should have a conversation, but when we having that conversation, it's not about being guilty or having them putting them on a guilt trip. Let me put it that way. So that was very significant to me. That aspect of the conversation.
Yeah. I liked it, and as she called it, generational parenting. She gave it that label. Generational parenting and caregiving differences, which we have to look at. And I love this story. She referred to a book, The Giants That I See. And for many of us, our children, if we think of what did our children see growing up, they saw superheroes. They saw, for many of for our children, we are larger than life figures. They looked at us managing careers, family, difficulties, child rearing, money. So, and they saw us as, wow. And they looked at their grandparents, our parents. They also saw us taking care of their grandparents. And if we ask our children, I remember having this conversation with one of my sons, what do you think of us? We would realize that many of our children don't want to, have no ambition to, and think they are not capable of stepping into our shoes because of the sheer level of competence we demonstrated while they were growing up. And it's a fact. Our generation is the generation that made the biggest change. And because of that, as she's saying, and because we continue in that vein, we haven't stopped. We are still giving. They are still receiving from us. And many of us have the mindset that, well, they will take care of us. And we are not having any conversations at all about that with the children. And in the children's heads, because this is how we raise them, mommy and daddy good. They could take care of ourselves. And I think many of our adult children And now with the mindset of, you see, mommy and daddy, them good, they will organize. They have things in place. They have money in place. They have everything in place. So let me see about myself and not be a burden to them. When some of us are silently sitting down and saying, well, the children will step in. And when they don't, we throw in words, we vex, we get in on. And Allison brought this out so well. And I think it is true. And for me, my perspective is, and I think I said that before, I am living a vibrant life. I'm in control of my life. And instead of having a pity party or trying to put my children on a guilt trip, I am going to start preparing and planning for the next generation, next era. And I will share my plans with my children. And to the extent that my lesser resources means that I cannot do as much, my planning will be sort of the notice to them that, look, probably in 5, 10, 15 years, some of the things that I now do for you, I won't be able to. So they could start to adjust. And I think I'm not going on a guilt trip and I'm not going on a pity party, but I will continue to be the planner that I am, which my child expects me to be. And we have an easy time. Everybody has an easy time.
And it's so true. The other aspect of that planning, which Alison referred to as, I believe, scenario planning. I recall, in growing up, my dad always tell us what he plans to do. And I guess that's where I got that from. In very early growing up, his goal was to, buy his own home. And right through, we were told how he was going to do it. And that went through, right through, in his retirement, that he was going to retire. And this is what he's going to do with his car, etc., etc. And that helped us and helped me in understanding that journey he was on. And in the scenario planning is really for us to, as I said before, understand where we are, but know what kind of life we want to enjoy as we age, as we enter the 80s. And if we know that, then yes, we start to make decisions that will, help us realize or achieve, that goal, that lifestyle that we look forward to. And we need to put things in place to enjoy that. And to enjoy, as I mentioned before, I really want to, as much as in my control, to live a healthy, active, happy life, as independent as I can, and hopefully, if required, that I will get have a support system in place, which will help me, to enjoy that life. But it can't happen like that. It requires that, what we call the scenario planning, and the scenario is what I just painted for you. And each aspect of that require me to make some serious decisions and actually some changes, things that I may be accustomed doing, I can't do again. And I have to really recognize those things that I have to change. And I just want to mention here on this aspect of it, you really to know how to do it. You need to educate yourself on certain matters. Educate yourself by, reading materials, looking at certain podcasts, etc., which could help guide you, because I don't believe there is any course you could just go to on aging. because it have different facets of that, of that whole process. Yeah.
One thing that Allison also mentioned that, and it's a fault of mine, and she said it, and I'm glad she said it because it gave me proof that it's not a fault of mine. We have to take responsibility for ourselves. And many of us, through fear, through intimidation, we just don't. And we sit and hope and wait that someone takes responsibility for you. And the fact is that unless we are proactive about being realistic about what, as you say, the changes that will come, if we don't take charge of those things, because of how many of us raised our children, not letting them see sacrifice, doing everything for them, and because they fully expect us to be able to take care of ourselves, if we don't put ourselves in the middle and put ourselves first and put the resources in place to live the life that we want to live, if we don't do that, we're going to be left behind. And it will be no one's fault but our own. And we could do any guilt tripping we want to make the children feel bad. We could do how much moaning and groaning we want. We have brought up children who are accustomed having their needs met. Whether you do it or somebody else does it, that guilt trip is going to go nowhere. So I think that wake-up call to us is critical. We have to look forward and say, this is how we want to live, and put things in place. If the children come true, hallelujah, hallelujah. But if they don't become an abandoned old lady or old man because you were hoping that something you didn't create out of these children suddenly materializes. I think that was a very valuable lesson.
The other aspect that came to mind, Terry-Ann, is the aspect of safety. And we had a nice show with Regent Small, talking about safety methods and hazards and what we should look out for. And that is an area that all now, we don't have to wait until the 80s at all. It's happening right now with many of us. In terms of falling and injuring yourselves, and how we want to maintain the house and the decor and everything in the house the same way because we like it, so it's more fashionable, or we could show off a bit. And we have to be careful with that. And simple things, as I said, we did have a show on it, and I will urge you all to go back and look at that show. In ways that we can prevent falls and take care of our safety. And we know where we live. All of us different. So we look within our home and see, do we still need to have certain things in place? What is in the way? What could trip us? Things like that. I mean, the list could be very exhaustive depending on where you are. But that is something we should be careful with. And just a simple one that was mentioned, like when we drive in, we wearing slippers, or we be careful with the type of footwear, and it's not just for it's not for style at all, but for safety. Mm-hmm. So just because we can't go on and on with a list, but it's an awareness. We really need to be aware that, hey, we are aging, and the way we used to operate before, the things we used to do, we have to look at it and see if we could maybe reorganize in some way, or put things in place, put measures in place for our safety.
Yeah. And I think on that safely, she gave some very examples that hit me. For example, loving the bath, the dressing robe. And I have some beautiful caftans and gowns. And when I'm walking down the steps, it hooking in the railing and tripping me. First hooked in her chair back, you know. So simple things like watch the clothes, our clothes functional. You might have spent a lot of money on it and you might like it, but it's no longer fit for purpose. Give it away. In the kitchen,
Yes.
I am a kitchen person, and that hit home to me. I have some beautiful cast iron and all those kinds of things. I have rearranged. They come down to a lower shelf because if they're up on top and you have to get on a ladder to get to it, glassware, things like that, and there is any trip or anything like that, those things could be fatal. So if we just look around our closets, look around our kitchens, look around our homes, if you like to be in the yard, you like the garden, are your paths clear? Are they slippery? Do you have fall risk all over your house? Is your house a booby trap for you?
I broke 2 pots recently trying to move my hands.
You know, so it just requires us to be conscious. And we have brought one of our tribe who is actually in the third act. So we are going to leave our in-tune session and now transition to community while we talk to Kathleen Pedro about life in the 80s. And I think we'll see that it is a whole lot of fun. So stay tuned.
Kathleen, I'm so happy that you have agreed to be our guest on this very, very important topic. As you know, and our guests know that, not guests, but our followers, those who watched the show last week, we spoke about entering on the fourth act stage, which is really moving from your 70s into your 80s. And we spoke on that, we shared our views, but we thought it would be so nice to have someone who actually within that age group. I know people wondering why you're sitting there, but it's because you are now 82 and we found out looking nothing like it, of course, and maybe you could tell us the secret. So what, we would like you to share with us is tell us if you saw any difference, if you felt any different moving from the 70s into the 80s, on this stage.
All right. Yes. I would say 60, 70 was smooth sailing. But when I reached 80, I said, this is serious business,
Yeah.
And it caused you to start looking within, looking at the bank balance, and even looking at stairs, stairs to climb, stairways, you look at that. And also, I found emotionally and mentally there was a change. Of course, physically too. I felt not as energetic as when you were 50, 60, 70. So those were the changes I saw, which I don't think they were much, but you had to put some thought into it,
Let me ask you this, Scott. You said 50s to 60s of plain sailing. And I want to hear more about that because that's interesting. What made it plain sailing for you that period, 50s to 60s?
All right. 50s, I was looking forward to retirement at 60. Then 60 came. Then you retired, and it was a different life, sort of freedom, where you could do what you want, get up when you want. And what should I say? That's it.
So you were actually working.
And thank God I was no health issues.
Okay.
So to me, yes, to me that was where it was plain smooth sailing then.
So you were working.
70s,
You were in the workplace at the time. You actually were working. You right through.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, no, it's great to know that you had a great life, 50 to 60. Continue to have a great life. But what did you, in terms of, you did mention, and I'd like you to sort of expand a bit on, in terms of, okay, you mentioned you had to look at the stairs, which is looking at your safety aspect. You mentioned, of course, looking at the money, the financial aspect, which is very critical also. And there was trying to recall as it
look within. You look within.
You look within. Could you expand, a little more on those, especially those three areas?
All right, I'll start with looking within. You start looking within and really planning how you're going to live the rest of your life. You want it to be peaceful and prayerful. You want to enjoy each day. Enjoy each day as you get up and you praise God. You thank Him and you say, well, today is so and so. I want to enjoy today. I want to have peace of mind. Then with the finances, you start to really check, because you don't want to overspend. You want what you have to try to last you, which, it's hard these days. Yeah. And then the other one with the safety aspect, you slow down. You automatically slow down. You don't rush to answer phones. You take your time. And as I say with the stairs, that's one of the fears. Anytime I go anywhere, I look at the stairs. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Because you have to go up, and coming down is just as dangerous. So that's just by the way. That's just a little thing,
No, that's important. Yeah.
Yes, because it's safety, right? And that's it. And the looking within, to more elaborate on the looking within, you want to live a life where you think of yourself now, because you have been thinking of and helping everyone else all before. Now, these few years that you have, and the few years that you have that, you're moving around and so on, you want to do things that you love, that you enjoy, Take your time, don't rush, take your rest when you want. And that's it.
Yeah. Terry-Ann.
Yeah. If you but you talk about looking within, and I think last week this really ties in so well with what we were talking about last week. But let me ask you a question. Very often, and we've gotten the feedback, why are you all talking about this in the first place? And from people who are probably in their 50s, their 60s, their 70s. Why are you all talking about that? It's not necessary. You should live for today. Do what you want to do today. So we always go to wisdom. And wisdom is not necessarily age. Wisdom is lived experience. So if I were to ask you, is that a good point of view to have for 50 and 60-year-olds? That thought, what's the point of thinking down the road? We've retired. Let's look at, is that wisdom? So don't think about down the road. Live for now. As an 82-year-old, do you see that perspective as wisdom?
Yes, I think it's wisdom, but you have to control it. You have to control it. Don't overthink. And don't stress too much about the future.
Mm-hmm.
But it's wisdom because you have to do some planning.
Yeah. Yeah. What and how did you plan?
From
From the time you retired, did you consciously think about, okay, I'm 60 and I've retired? Did you put any effort at all into thinking about, all right, how am I going to be at 70 and how am I going to be at 80? Or did it just come and you rolled with the punches as they came?
I think I thought a little bit about it, but I think I let it roll. I must admit that I let it roll
Mm-hmm.
because of my personality. I let it roll,
Yeah.
and you don't expect at that age. You were not expected to live so long, eh? You know. So I think I let it roll. I let it roll, but with some thought. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. And was there and when did you start? You said 50s to 60s were plain sailing, 60s to 70s a little easier. When did you stop and say, hey, Kathleen, these four things that you put out, your money, physically, what your environment was like, even what your health was like, and then this focusing in. When did that get triggered? Do you remember?
When did that what?
When did
Repeat.
that get triggered? When did you start to think, hello, I've got to make some changes?
I would say like 75.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. 75 going into the 80. Yeah,
All right. And what
yeah.
what caused that? What do you remember what may have caused you to begin thinking differently?
What caused that? Well, I'm a widow. I'm alone. So that is one. And you think of going down the road alone. Yeah. Although I enjoy being alone because I'm not very lonely.
Yeah.
I have one son
Mhm.
and I keep busy. Yeah, so I'm managing it very well. I love to go out. I love to dance. But, well, it's not as when you're 50, 60.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you enjoy what you can enjoy. You know,
Yeah.
I do I do art, I do crochet. I love to chat. So that yeah.
Very good.
Kathleen, did you have, you know, did you have any fears at all about aging?
Yes. 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 You have fears.
You want to share some of the concerns you may have had or still have?
Yeah. I fear illness. Illness. Yeah. I don't know if I can handle that. I
Okay.
feel the finances, not that I have money, but it doesn't bother me too much because I think I could manage there.
Okay.
But I feel I feel, yeah, I fear death a little bit. Yes.
Yeah, I can
Yes.
understand
Fear
that.
death.
Yeah.
I fear death. I talk about it openly, right? To my friends and my cousins, I talk about it openly. Yeah, but you can't stress too much, you know. You can't stress too much on things you cannot control, you know. So you laugh it off.
That's one way. That's a very good way of overcoming stress in terms
Yes.
of addressing the fears. So you say this fears, illness, that you address it,
Yeah.
but you're also in addressing it, and I know you do that.
Yeah.
You look, you have your health concerns, and you do things. You know, you would
Yeah.
exercise.
Yeah. I
You do the
walk.
things.
Yes, I walk a lot. Yeah. Walk.
Right. So I'm aware of that, and that's what I'm saying. That fear, you're not sitting on that fear. You're not helpless. You're
Yeah.
ensuring that if I fear illness, then I have to do the things I have to do. I have to
Yes. Yeah.
exercise. We talk a lot on our show about, getting out, being out there and socializing, making new friends and being happy. You definitely do that all the
Yes. Yeah.
time.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
from what you're saying, you also keep yourself busy with your crochet
Yeah.
and so all these things are ways of
Art.
you're keeping busy, you're making yourself happy. So you're not focusing
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
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 You're not sitting back and like, in some cases people might just shut down
Yeah.
and they don't know how to make themselves happy or to
Yes.
go there.
Yeah.
The other aspect you mentioned, which is a fear, and I think that is whether you're 62 or 22, that fear of death, I think, is something us as humans, sometimes Terrian and I will talk about that, and she say, are people afraid that? I say, yes, I think all of us are afraid of death. I may not be correct in saying all of us,
Yeah.
but I join you with that. And again, it is something that we have no control over. Well, we have control in terms of how we manage our lives, but in terms of all of us at some stage, we're going to die. But
Yeah.
it's great that you're not allowing that to prevent you. Yeah.
Yeah.
You laugh it out, you make a joke, you tell a friend, and they say, "Hey, what you worried about?" So, which
Yes.
is,
Yeah.
so I am, I'm happy to hear you have, that you're doing something about it. And I
Yeah.
believe that's why you're a happy woman. You're a
Yeah.
happy and active
If, yeah.
82-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah.
I see that, as I mentioned last week in the show. That's how I want to be,
Yeah.
but you can't just get so. You have to, your mindset, and you said your personality, you know, allows this to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah. So that's it. No, I am listening to you and I am thinking, we use the word fear when it's associated
A
with
little
that.
louder.
All right. We use the word fear. And I want to ask another question because that is an ultimate and that is the end, whenever that
Yeah.
will be, and we don't know when it will be. But what are the things that concern you about life going forward? However many years you have, that will be the end of it. But until that time comes, what are the concerns that you have now? You're 82 to 90. And if you go to your 90s, what are the kinds of concerns that you have that you believe you can put things in place to mitigate those concerns and therefore have a full life?
I the concern is that as I go down a little older, having a caregiver, because you won't be able to be doing things, so you need help. And that's my concern. I have a son.
Yeah.
Right. I have a son. He lives very close. He doesn't live with me, but he's close. And he is helpful. But, you wonder what stage you will be. And that's my concern. If you have somebody to help you,
Yes.
That's my main concern, having help. I have no grandchildren, just have a son. So sometimes I wonder, boy, you'll have to call for help, So
who you going to call? Really, Ghostbusters?
Huh?
Who you going to call? Ghostbusters.
Yeah, so that is, but I'm still not thinking about it too much.
Yeah. I think it is great.
God will provide. God will provide. Yeah.
And would you consider yourself to be in good health, even though you said you're concerned about illness? Would you consider yourself to be in good health right now?
Very good.
Okay.
Very good.
Nice. And I think that is something, and let me ask a question, because sometimes we would say we're in good health because we feel good. But
good, yeah.
What practices do you have to ensure that you are in good health? Like, what is your regular visits to the doctor? How do you manage your health as someone who is healthy?
Well, I try to exercise most days, and the exercise is just walking. I don't do anything else but but walking. I visit my doctor. Anything I find is not right, I go to the doctor.
Yeah.
And tell them. I also go have a yearly blood test done. Yeah, I do the yearly blood test and a yearly visit. Right.
Nice.
So I start the year with the blood test and the visit.
Okay, and so you have an annual routine. You have every year you have a routine that you do to make.
Yes, I go for a blood test and I go to the doctor January. Right?
Very nice.
Anything coming up after, I rarely go. If I find, I believe in acupuncture. So if I find my back hurting,
yeah,
I go to my doctor who sees about that and give me a good massage. And I love massages, but I don't go too often.
Nice.
So,
nice.
Yeah, but I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of the doctor.
Good. And what about the eyes and the ears? Is there any other medical check? Because we go to the doctor who will do blood tests and so on. What about your eyes and your hearing? And is there any other checks that you make sure that you do?
Oh, yes. I have to go. I have a glaucoma. So I go to my eye specialist. I'm supposed to go every 6 months, but I make sure I go every year. Yeah. And they do like a field test and the optic nerve test. I can't remember the name of that. Right. The hearing good. Hearing is okay. What are they in?
And I want to get into your real business. How do you sleep?
How do I?
Sleep. How do you sleep? Because they say that sleep is a very critical part of our healing and our well-being. So how do you sleep?
Right. I could take 2 naps a day. We come into the night time, but in the day, if I feel tired, I could go and take a nap.
Yep.
Morning and afternoon, right?
Yeah.
So therefore, you will find that I can, in the night time, after the news and so on, I go to my bed. But this is your love.
Of course, you have to check the book.
This is great company. So I go to bed, say prayers, and I pick up my boy. Yeah. So if I play games and chat and everything, and if 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 4 hours is good for me, 4 hours.
Yeah.
And I don't fuss, because if I get up at 3, I say, well, I ain't dead. I am up. And I would turn around, pick up the cell again. And then 5 o'clock, alarm, get ready, walk.
Yeah.
So 4 hours, I don't fuss. And I tell friends, when you get up, you're up, you ain't dead. You know? I know.
Yeah.
So that don't bother me.
No.
I hear people say, I can't sleep. No, that don't bother me. I don't let it bother me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, it is. I think it is so important in terms of our physical well-being that, you know, some people say, yes, I'm good, I feel healthy. And we don't have these routines where, all right, I have an annual check with the doctor. And you know that how do I keep my body moving? And I love the fact that you have 2 naps in the day and your nighttime. And then you have your friends, you have your partner. So some of us feel because the parent gone and the husband gone or the wife gone.
Yes.
You're not alone. Yeah. Use social media responsibly.
Yes.
Have fun.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. And you know, you don't just send morning greetings. Sometimes you call it, let me hear your voice. Talk. Yeah, you laugh. And I'm not boasting, but my friends say, oh gosh, when you call me, girl, I laugh. You know, you have me laughing. So, yeah, they like to chat. Yeah.
That is so important. And I want to ask one more thing, which I think is so critical to it's part of our health, but our mind and emotional well-being. It seems that you are constantly curious and always learning. You talked about being involved in craft and art and stuff like that. So can you tell us about your hobbies, your practices? Because I think once we keep our brain active, how we pass the time before we die is more important to me than the actual death. So what are your hobbies and activities?
Okay. I liked gardening, but I'm downsizing now. Yeah, kind of downsizing. Then my next love is crochet. So I do handbags.
I know one of them nearby.
And now I'm doing scrunchies. And I love this. They're easy to do and you finish fast. Bags take a little long. And I sell them, you know, get a little change. You can't buy a car with it, but
you could go to a show. You could go to a show.
Yes. Buy more thread. And the next hobby is art. I don't do too much, but I have my times I go in. I did an art course when I retired from Studio 66.
Yes.
I did an art course and I started doing paintings, but it's very expensive, I find. So I had stopped because every time I go to the art shop, I want to buy all the different colors and the paint to paint and all that. So I stopped for a little while and then I have started back. I say, you know what? 1 pencil or 2 pencils and a scrapbook.
Yes.
And I sit down and I draw leaves and flowers and a shade and I do that. But it's good to do it early in the morning. Nice. And when I talk to my friends and they're telling me they're bored, I say, you just have to get 2 pencils and a scrapbook, you know, and it's good. Draw anything. Exactly. Anything is good. Don't care, nobody tell you the shade is not good and all that, but so that's that. Those are the 3 main: the gardening, the crochet, and the art.
Yeah.
And I love to dance. I love to dance. So I can dance by myself. And it's no problem to follow a steel band on RP Avenue when the time comes. Right. So that's it.
Beautiful.
Don't mind the next day you lie down all day, you know.
The next thing that I notice about you, which I think is it's part of that continuing to have a curious mind. Before we spoke to Jennifer Rouse and people would remember, she said one of the things that really could cut short our lives is not continuing to be curious. And I love the fact that you have embraced technology. You see,
Yes, yeah, I
you
was not going to
see,
say that. I was
yes,
no, yes.
you are seeing this as a learning tool, a communications device, and so on. So
Yes,
you
and
are comfortable with technology.
yeah, up to 2 nights ago, I showed a cousin of mine. She does not. I showed her what some of tricks. I said do this to transfer a number. She didn't know, so
Yeah.
a teaching too. Yeah, yeah. I love this. I love this. And there's so much more to learn. So
Yes,
much more to learn.
yes.
The only fear, I don't go to the ATM. I don't
Yes.
like the ATM.
But you do
Prefer to
online
line up.
banking. Do you do online banking?
Yes, yes,
Well, you don't
yes,
need to go to the
yeah,
ATM. Send the money.
yes, yeah, yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. I really like that outlook because I think that is part of what makes you continue your life from your 50s to your 60s, from your 70s. There seems to be a little adjustment for the 80s, but your spirit continues, your happiness continues.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
I really hope it continues physically.
But I think you'll adapt.
I try to do a lot of leg exercises because I feel my legs, they're tired. They're tired.
The
Yeah, but
dancing is the dancing,
yeah,
but they keep you
yes.
going. The large muscles, they keep you
Yeah,
going.
yeah.
Good, good, good. Yes, Jennifer.
So just to tell Kathleen, Kathleen, you're truly inspiration. Well, let me tell you, for me, you are what you call it. You are my poster child. But
For the
because,
80s?
yeah, because I am thinking, as we said, I'm not far away. But what you said there, for me, the different, points that you have made, and why, to maintain your health, happiness, etc. I think that's really that's a goal of mine. And I think most of us who nearing that age, going into 80s, I believe we all want that happiness and want to be in good health and just enjoy that stage of life. You didn't mention, and this is for me now, it's personal too, that you really started thinking seriously about aging at 75.
Yeah.
And I'm saying my time. I think I started early now. So yes, all what you mentioned is for me it is a great roadmap, you know, to preparing for the other stage and not preparing with fear,
Yeah,
you
no
know.
fear.
But you remove that fear. You have no reason to fear. It's a time to look forward to. It's a time of freedom. And
Yeah.
what is, that you still maintain a group of friends. And as I said that, let me ask you, this is my last question really. In terms of, do you find your friends at varying ages or most of your friends within your age group?
Varied. Younger. Varied. Yeah, I have few at my age group, but I have some younger ones. I have young. So it's a cross section. Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
which is great because that's what I'm saying that in terms of making friends or forming that network at this stage, that we shouldn't dismiss, having friends that younger than we are,
Yeah.
It's good.
And I can make friends easily. Yeah.
Great, yeah. So yeah, Kathleen, that's it. I really enjoyed
I
this
have
conversation.
what
I, I,
what I what to an advice I have
Yeah.
for people at my age: do unto others as you would like them to do unto you.
Yeah.
mhm.
And then I have another little jokey one. drink water and mind your business. Yes, mind your business. Yes,
Focus on your life.
yeah, mind your business. Those are the two points I will give to the older folks. Don't interfere.
Yes.
You know?
And I want to ask you one other question before we close off this segment. And it's about that network that you have. Why is it, do you think, that you have not many friends in your age group? Is it that people have died, or is it that your
Yes,
interest?
some have died. Some have died. Some ain't picking up the phone, and that's the easy thing. So you have the younger ones that you could really relate to better. Yeah.
You know,
You're not.
I ask that question because I think that is important, because a lot of us, as people get older, they realize they shrink their own network by becoming more reclusive and not wanting to continue being vibrant and alive. And you know,
Yeah.
then you have to wonder, what is the cause of your aloneness or loneliness? When,
Yeah.
you know, if Kathleen call, answer the phone.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And so many of the older ones consider the phone a nuisance, and they withdraw from technology, which is the
Yeah.
only
Yeah.
connection.
Yes. Yeah.
So I really commend you for that. I really, really do commend you
Yes.
for that. Beautiful.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Nice, nice. Yeah. I think we've really gotten some good tips in terms of
Yes.
someone in their 80s, 90s, going on in life, that to
Yes. Yes.
continue
And I hope, I
today.
hope, I hope, I hope when I'm 90, we will do another interview when I'm 90.
Definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
preparation on the third act, just as we say we have to break the habits of the second act to enjoy the third act, we have to live in the
Yeah.
third act to prepare to continue in on the
Yeah.
flow. No, this is
Yeah.
great. Thank you so very much, Kathleen. This is
And
excellent.
thank you all, and thank you all for the good work you're doing.
You're very
Yeah.
welcome. You're very welcome.
Right.
Great.
Right. Bye bye.
Well, friends, we really had a roadmap and guidelines as to how to prepare for our 80s, how to prepare for aging. There, I think we have covered every aspect, and really, Kathleen is proof of how we could live a happy, healthy, active life in our 80s.
Great. So until next week. So see you. Bye-bye.
+50 Tribe and follow us from Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean.
Thank you for joining us on this Connections 50 Plus 5.8G Alive show.
We hope you enjoyed the lively conversation and look forward to seeing you next week.
Don't forget to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
We really love getting your feedback. Bye for now.